I mean, I guess we should stay all focused on Cologne a little bit. Oh, all right. So already going into the Cologne thing, because this was going to be like the main thing. We fit last week. We talked about groups and we were kind of giving our predictions on how we thought the playoffs were going to go. One of the things that I was really looking forward to, and I can't remember if I brought it up on the show, but I did bring it up on my stream where I was like, I really hope that ESL knock it out of the park in terms of the production this time around, because there will have been so much hype around this event. And maybe like stage wise, 5 out of 10. I wasn't impressed in any way. I don't think they did anything to like innovate or do anything crazy. They really just did a bread and butter,
just a normal stage, yeah.
ESL stage, nothing crazy there at all. Which really does actually kind of speak to ESL's, like their company, the way that they view things is if it doesn't actually impact viewership on the stream in any way, like measurable way, they're not going to put money into it. It's not going to be interesting for them. It's not about it. For them, it's just about like, what's the direct return 1-for-1 on this investment that we're about to make right now. And so producing this piece of content, does that get more people to tune into the stream? If so, yes, here's the money. If not, not so much. So the stage, I felt like I was a bit let down. I was looking for this sick ceremony. I was looking for all of this, and I didn't really see it. One thing, though, that they did lean into, and this is something that they're going to be able to actually build going forward, and something that nobody else is going to be able to touch and makes it really difficult to create content, is they have all the VODs. They have all the VODs now. They have Face It, they have DreamHack, they have ESL, they have all these years of CSGO VODs. They have ownership of all of this footage, and they actually try to use it. They actually, I mean, they actually tried to create some cool historic pieces around Cologne, like building up the hype for some of these moments. They used like the simple clutch, the simple graffiti moment. Like that was cool. They created a little piece in the ad where it's just like, okay, this is the context around this moment, and this is how that graffiti works. They have that footage and all that, so they can make all that happen. Like they did all this kind of cool stuff going back and actually trying to find footage and actually create stuff. So it wasn't just the throw to ad, here's the wait screen, and we'll be back in 3 minutes. It was like they actually tried to use some of their footage, and they actually tried to use some of their VODs to create some cool stuff. And then they built on that with the Cologne stuff as well, with the big opening ceremony for the grand finals, where it's like year after year, hype moment after hype moment in this place. Like they actually were able to start doing some of that. And so kudos to ESL on that point. That I liked. That's the kind of stuff that I really love to see, especially for events like you pointed out that stand on their own. Katowice, Cologne, they don't need to be majors. They don't need extra hype. They're hype enough now as it is, because they've been so consistent over the years. So ESL have really got to lean into that now, because they're going to have they're almost up to it. Well, they're not almost up to a decade. I think it was 2015 was the first one off the top of my head.
In the Lanxess, at least, yeah.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Exactly, sure. In the Lanxess, because before that it was at Gamescom, and well, we don't need to think about
or just their studios or whatever in Cologne. Yeah, exactly.
Sure. Well, that's where the ESL
the EMS was the major series
actually located in Cologne. If you didn't know, if anybody doesn't know that,
well, the old one was at least
headquarters. They've kind of split up a little bit over in Poland as well. Now they've got their own studios in Poland, and for a while they had their studio in Burbank. They had an office in Burbank, sales team in New York, I think. Like they're kind of spread out, but like Cologne is their home turf. But it's just that was like one thing that stood out to me that I was really looking forward to. I wanted to see what they were going to do, and they actually kind of did it, which my expectations for ESL when it comes to production are down here. In terms of running an event, my expectations are up here, and they deliver on running an event. They make the players happy. They run shit for the most part on time. There aren't major fuck ups on the stream. All that stuff goes. But like the creative side of things, my bar is like way down here when it comes to ESL. And so maybe it's because, that my expectations are so low. They kind of like surprised me a little bit, like, oh, they actually did something great. Okay, cool. Because I never expect anything from ESL, because there isn't a clear one-to-one return for any kind of investment you're doing on that kind of side. For them, that's a big deal. So I don't know. I'm curious, like, was there anything that you were looking forward to going into the event, like production wise or story wise or any of that you got to see, or were you just fully dialed in on gameplay and that's it?
I mean, luckily, because it's like the best tournament in the world with all the best teams, it was going to be good in anyway, as long as the match is delivered. So I'd say mainly as long as you set up the stadium and that, I'm generally happy. In terms of the like side stuff, the problem I have overall is this. I actually do think that now they've gotten like pretty decent at the skits. Like when people will know, I've even said it on this show, when they first started the skits, which coincidentally was like right after Flashpipe was doing them. Like when they first started them, it did look a bit like, make it more fucking obvious that you're just doing it because we just did it, you fucking cynical bastard. And even worse, the first skits they did were like someone who was copying an idea and didn't know what the point of the idea was, because all they did is just take scenes from movies and just change the names, like Mad Lib style, like that. If you go look at our skits, we created entire skits where the whole premise is fresh and the whole thing's like I'm a crazy doctor, and then what if this player came in and his illness within how he dysfunctionally fits in the team represented as a physical illness? That's a creative idea. Yours was just like, imagine American Psycho, but instead of a card, it's his crosshair in it. It's like, here's the difference between those two ideas. Yours is one where I laugh for a second in the room and go, no, but let's do something better than that. You actually made that happen. Like, mine's actually one where it's like, yeah, that's pretty good, but how would we? Well, I've got ideas for that. We do it this way, and then it's fucking really interesting. So with that said, now they've started to finally do some that do have that, like what I want. Like, I actually thought those ones where people were going to confession, those were pretty funny. I will say, because this is by the numbers, the one angle about that is nonsense. And this is where I do actually despise the modern world, Semmler, because here's the problem. In theory, we have to have one position that makes sense. Otherwise, what we do by definition is incoherent. So my problem is this. I don't have a problem with that joke. Like, it was a well-executed joke. Like Carrigan, for example, basically saying like he needs to bait people or whatever. Nico saying like, what was Nico's angle? Something similar, right? Like, they were all saying, oh, he needed to be IGL. That was it. Yeah. Like all the angles are funny. The joke is funny and I'm fine with it. But my problem is this. You wouldn't do that same joke and have it be a fucking Muslim preacher, cleric guy. You wouldn't have that in a synagogue and have it be the Jewish rabbi being the one. You would never even consider that, because that would actually be considered offensive. So my problem is that, right? It's like, if I'm willing to take a joke, then everyone has to take a joke. If you're not willing to take a joke, stay the fuck out of my shit. I'm just going to say that right now. That's the standard I'm setting in the industry. Because like I say, I wouldn't have a problem with it, but I think it's mad hypocritical, especially Semmler. And people are going to go, why are you bringing this up? It's totally irrelevant. When you're now owned by Muslims, just going to go ahead and say, maybe when you're owned by a theocratic Muslim fucking country and like theocracy, maybe don't make fun of another major religion. Weird how that works, isn't it?
That would be par for the course, wouldn't it?
Oh, it is, but I know it's just nonsense, isn't it? Like I say, it's not a huge deal, but it's definitely worth pointing out.
Well, it's just, I mean, if you want to go along that route, it's also the whole hammering home of the cathedral of Counter-Strike over and over.
They do that. That's, you know what? That's mainly, let's be real. It's not just ESL, but ESL is famous with the crowd and the stadium angle. In general, in CSGO, I do think we're a bit feckless as an industry like that. Like, people are just we can have the best event in the world, and instead of just letting it be the best event in the world, we'll ruin it by just constantly sniffing our own farts about the fact it's the best event in the world. That's CSGO in a nutshell. Every event, like, that's why I always make those tweets similar, where I'll always make a joke tweet during these events if this happens, where I'll be like, how's the crowd at IEM Cologne this year? I wondered, because they've only mentioned it every 5 minutes on the broadcast. Like, I'm fucking bored of this now. Like, why would I remember, I'm not at your venue. Why would I want you to tell me every 5 minutes how sick it is? This is stupid. Like, do it once or twice. Yeah. In fact, by the way, for Cologne, you can even do a little crowd segment if you wanted that. Have a thing where people have come every year since 2016, say what it was like and how epic it is. It's like a major. But yeah, don't hit it every 10 minutes, mate. Come on, don't like drive it into the ground. It becomes not cool then. Like, because it actually, here's the reason why as well, Sam. I'm personally not a fan of that. It just smacks of insecurity. Like, it makes it sound like you don't believe anyone was going to turn up. And then when they turn, you're like, look at this. I've got a crowd and everything. It's like, mate, you spent like $2 million on the event, you daft fuck. Like, you're making it sound like 4 people were going to turn up. Like, yeah, isn't it supposed to be a legit sport? Didn't you sell the company for $1 billion? Yeah, I would hope there is a crowd. Stop fucking going on about it. I can take you to like the 3rd division football in England. There'll be a crowd at that as well, you fucking idiot. Doesn't make it amazing, does it?
Yeah, it's, you don't want to rail too hard on like.
And I'll just say what I've said every time, Carmack. I'll say it a millionth time though, pal. The reason I know, you know what we said earlier about how when something works for you, you mention it, and when it doesn't, you don't mention it. I'll say what I've said every time, Semmler. The year that I'll need to actually give a fuck about any crowd at an ESL event is the year Carmack posts publicly, here was the gate, like the UFC does. Because that's what actually matters. What actually matters is how much did they pay to attend that event. So if it's the UFC, the gate's going to be millions because those are top ticket. That's box office. The reason you don't mention the gate for a Cologne, Semmler, isn't because you forgot to. It's obviously worth fuck all, isn't it? The amount would be so pitiful, especially because you could contrast it with concerts and stuff there. The amount would just be so pitiful compared to sports. Like, that's why we just tell you the number of people who went. We don't tell you how much they spent because we aren't ready for those difficult convos. They're a bit awkward right now in esports, especially, by the way, as you also alluded to, sometimes you give away free tickets to sell out, don't you? You just give away the last 2K and magically you've sold out. So usual shenanigans from all the TOs.
Dude, that's the oldest sin. That's the way to do it.
It's classic, isn't it?
It's like sports, all that. Oh, we're doing a giveaway. And anybody who applies, there's a 1 in 10 chance. It's like all 10 of you got tickets.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's just how you save face in it. Yeah. To make sure you still fill it out. Exactly.
Oh, yeah. You're going to do everything you can to fill it out, which is, they probably were just hunting down people trying to get them tickets at the end. But that is just the way that it goes with filling arenas. So no harm there. None of that. It's just, it is just an observation. I don't know. It is just an observation. Like if it was something, it is interesting how like the culture is progressing so that you can actually try to make like also the whole, like I enjoyed the fact that they used the footage, but it really was like, gong. It was all about the church bells. I don't know. Like that used to mean something. There was something there. There's something there. I don't know what I'm trying to say other than just, I think the point is that you wouldn't make that with, Muslims in mind, or you wouldn't make that with Jews in mind. You would, but with Christianity, it's just open season. You can do whatever you want with Christianity.
Where all that goes, isn't it? Especially bearing in mind, I'll just say this. Don't the exact people who make fun of that exact type of religion always go on about being inclusive and about how it's about tolerance and about how we all have to like get along and care for each other and be compassionate? That weird how it doesn't matter when your fundamental values of how the universe operates are in question. Funny how that works, isn't it? Yeah. There you go. Other 3/4 of the world, you can all get fucked too.
Dude, it's not like these people think of the other 3/4 of the
world.
No,
of course, who gives a fuck?
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.